Good evening, and hi Mananda for the start of today's reading of Vampire the Masquerade The Night Road. We're gonna be trying to do this without glasses, but the screen's kind of further away than it normally is because I've got a new desk, so we're gonna see how that goes. Anyway, the last time when we were here, I was just gonna pick up the parcel and head for the refugee camp that's being used as one giant ass blood bank. We're gonna immediately move out because we did all of the fixing of the non-movie outy bits before we even got here, so it's fine. There's no traffic in Tuscan that evening as you drive to the Viper and drift to a halt outside. Once again, Riga watches you, and once again a flunky runs up to your car. He hands you an USB and a Leonard, no lockbox this time. No Prince Lito this time either. Oh, that's a shame! I was gonna flirt with him again! Even if he doesn't wanna take my gangrel ass, I'm still gonna shove it in his face. The flunky also makes sure you have a typewritten sheet of directions and false government IDs. Only delivered to Alain Oliver Krona, he says. I'll try Ellen of any sorts because that last name is a bit too long for my liking. You're at the edge of town when you realize that you've done 2 jobs for Prince Lito and you're getting low on supplies. Microfiber towels, zip ties, line for chin-ching, a tarp shut if you're stuck out in the sun, that sort of thing. Fortunately, it's still early, so you roll into AutoZone across from the convenience store where you can stock up. You let Shadow out to run around, then pass the payphone there and check to make sure it still works. You know every payphone in Tuscan. You get a dial tone. Good. You walk inside, and you instantly know you're being watched. I'm sorry, do we need all of these things? I need to Google microfiber towel. What are we even doing with these? Isn't that a thing that you use for cleaning glasses? What are we... It's a pretty expensive shit. Why do we... Me? What are we eating some towels? Well, okay, watched by whom? I walk along the aisles, confident I can spot whoever is looking at me. Do we just have a sixth sense of just eyes? Is that it? How do we even know this? How many eyes do I have? You keep browsing while you watch the anti-theft mirrors. You don't have any trouble spotting the woman who's looking for you, because she's the size of 2 big men. Oof! That's not very flattering. You can tell because she got 2 big men behind her. All 3 wear 2 tight black suits. You see the cashier watching you from the anti-theft mirror. She wears a red AutoZone polo, but from the way she's standing, she's just drawn a pistol. She's holding it below the counter. Good evening, Babylon, the woman says. You've seen her before, and this time you memorize her features. White, middle-aged, gray-brown hair, in a French braid. Really huge. My name is Agent Donati with the Faro Bureau of Investigation. I would like to ask you a couple of questions. Her eyes look oddly vampiric. Hello, Rofi. And she looks really young for middle age. I have more gray hairs than that, and I'm still in my 20s. Okay, Gendarity, how may I help you? You can help me bring down Lito Kaminsky, she says. Yeah, first of all, I'm really surprised that he actually... Yep, I don't... Why am I surprised that he has a last name? Of course he has a last name. I suppose if you were, like, really old, then maybe you would just introduce yourself by where you're from. But... He's not too old to have a last name! That's for sure. But no. I am after his ass, lady, and it's like, I'm not after his ass in like the mean kind of way. I'm after his ass in a sexy way. So I never heard of him. I've been doing this for longer than you know and still don't have a lot of time, Agent Donati says, so I'll be quick. Oh, do you want to check your watch? To fight the urge. Lito Kaminsky is the head of crime syndicate that stretches across most of Arizona. His organization is involved with human trafficking, organ legging, racketeering, organized auto theft, and fraud so long-running and extensive that in order to encompass its full extent, I had to track down copies from the French Sûreté and the Spanish Guardia Civil and Turkish translations from the Ottoman Empire. Do you understand what I mean? Do you understand how long this has been going on for? She looks so... See, she sounds tired. Then her eyes narrow as more customers arrive. One watches you suspiciously from beneath the long, low-slung black cap. Hunter, investigator, whatever he is, this is a problem. Donati wants answers, but you don't want to say anything too revealing. The Masquerade is straight enough in Tuscan without one more curious citizen tipping over into active supernatural sleuth. Okay, let's manipulate her. This Kaminsky guy must be really old. Shouldn't be hard to arrest an old guy. I'll play dumb lying and manipulating Donati into telling me useful information I can use. If she's a hunter, then she realizes that they're vampires, and yep. You chatter amiably and waste Donati's time trying to get her to say something interesting, but she responds with details about how she wants to recruit you, and you worry that some of the customers can hear. You're starting to get worried. The Masquerade is growing thin around you. Any more mistakes and you fear the hunters will find you, and when they do, they will strike without mercy. Agent Donati tries to hand you a card, but you don't take it, so she tucks it into a pocket of your leather jacket. Contact us if you want to survive what's coming, she says. Then she signals her goons and they leave, never taking their eyes off you. Check the card. U.S. Department of Justice, Federal Bureau of Investigation, Special Affairs Division. That's a physical address, an email address, and 2 phone numbers. When you glance up again, her dark blue Ford Fairlane is rolling out of the parking lot. The cashier took off, so you just grab what you need and head back to Tuscana. Riga watches you from roof of the AutoZone as you leave. Jesus. Okay, how bad are we followed? Oh. How did that violate the Masquerade? What did we tell her? Oh, so how badly are we... Okay, Second Inquisition hostility is moderate. That's a bit of a problem. I paid it off to get them off my back for a bit, but they're back on it again. I don't like them here. It's a 7-hour drive to the big nothing on the map between Texas and Chihuahua. Assuming the information is accurate, that means you can get there in one night and back the next. You checked where you can stay on the way, but if you're refused shelter. There are a few hotels nearby, but you're going to be heading right out into the desert. You hope you don't have to spend the day wrapped up in a body bag. It's bad for the nerves. Yeah, I can see why. Julian calls you somewhere outside of Benson. A killing team is coming for Alan Oliva Krona, he says. Details are on the USB. Glance at the USB. Unlike the last two, it's not a portable logbox, but it's definitely encrypted. Prince Lito must have some kind of plan if he knew about the Assize kill team and didn't tell you to hurry. But what could it be? You're probably wondering why you weren't told to hurry, Julian says. I can hear you sighing. That's good. It's good to keep breathing. Anyway, as usual, the Ivory Tower is acting like a good thing will last forever. Maybe you passed that rat's nest of a mobile home park in Mesco? That's their work too, but this is worse. The program at Camp Sheffer can fuel half of our people in Texas, but it's run by a greedy idiot. I'm offering you a deal. Let's take it over like I wanted at St. Basil's. You consider what to say. Obviously, Julian just blew your phone's cover so badly that you'll have to get rid of it, but now that you're talking, you need information. Julian, I'm not hitting your ass. I'm really not going after you. You're just not my type of guy. Because I don't... This is just Myrta being horny, the video game. Good! We accidentally violated the Masquerade, but we still have some of them remaining, so it's fine. But why aren't I in a hurry? Because you're being followed, Julian says. They're waiting for a 1999 Toyota Tacoma with someone matching your description to reach the camp. No strike when Ellen panics. Because they know she'll panic. Oh, one last thing, the Banu Haqim says. You'll need to ditch that phone too. Thanks, Julian. Yeah, I'm not no shit. There's a storage place off exit 306, Julian says. Go to Unit 43. Passcode is 3847. Drop your phone there. Don't destroy the SIM. Pick up the new one on the shelf. That's the only way you're finishing this job. He hangs up. You pull into the storage facility and do the phone trick again. Security is tied around Camp Schleffer. You're followed once you turn off the main road, first by the Texas Highway Patrol, then by some kind of patriot militia group in Chevy Tahoe flying gangsmen and Blue Lives Matter flags. Ugh. I hate when something about real life enters video games, like it rubs my spine the wrong way. They only peel off when you reach the outer perimeter of the camp. High fences topped with razor wire, guarded by men in face masks and goggles. The face masks look like respirators, and they all painted the same way, like a great cat's mandibles. Face masks. Face masks. Okay, okay. You know how the Spanish flu was never talked about after the Spanish flu? Part of the reason is because you really don't want to be reminded about what the hell was happening around you at that point. So like 10, 20 years from now, we're gonna have dramas and comedies all staged in the backdrop of the 2020 pandemic when people were like super stuck inside their houses, like marriages being strained and shit. But for all of the shit, for all of us who lived through it, it's like I really don't wanna be reminded of the current time and the current year. Could you not? No face masks. No face masks, please. So everyone seems to have respirators, at least one Catskill logo. Weapons and other equipment are heterogeneous and irregular. From their mannerisms, you detect a mix of competent ex-military, police, security personnel, and trade fringe militia types. The gate guard looks from your government ID to your very much non-government Tacoma, shrugs and waves you around to the parking lot. I kinda was a shut-in, but like all of the things that I miss now. I know I never lived around a nice area to just like go and sit in a restaurant, so I never did. And I was taking walks, just measuring this area recently. And on Wednesday, I think I walked down through a street for like as long as I could before turning around and going back home. I walked past this nice little restaurant. I mean, I walked all the way to a church with a nice graveyard, and I went into the graveyard to peer over a fence, thinking that I looked like an absolute complete moron because there was a nice field outside of that fence. So I was like, is there like a way to the field? But it just looked like I was galloping through a graveyard, which isn't very dignified. But that's not the point of the story. The point of the story is that I went past this like nice little quaint restaurant that does steaks, and they're like, advert was like, 100-ounce steak challenge, and I was like, I really want to visit it, but I'm in like perpetual lockdown. I also have 2 teeth that are like completely not holding together, including one of my front teeth, but you can't see it very well on camera. It has like a moon shape missing out of it, which is a bit funny. But it doesn't hurt, so I'm holding off the dentist until we're out of the pandemic, but that might not be for years. Galloping to indicate that it was a fairly undignified walk. I was also fairly rushed because I was like, it was just like a church and church graveyard. Caskets blown from crystal sand. Caskets blown from crystal sand, RuneScape says. That's kind of fitting. But it stretched for quite a while, and there was like a field afterwards it, so I was like, I want to walk through it. The thing is, even like, volunteer helpers came out from the church at the same time, and there were just like 2 of them, and I just thought they must think that this like crazy goth looking lady is just galloping through our graveyard. Like, what is she doing? They didn't say anything. Thank fuck for that. As opposed to when I went outside to the local shop to buy myself some candles. Didn't find any, by the way, but I did buy some snacks. And at that point, I literally walked past a woman with a dog. She had like a dog and a husband, but she looked like 40-ish, probably. And she was just so dried out, like completely. I was like, she must be on meth or crack or something, because that's like a natural level of lacking all fat and wetness to your body. And she just started screaming that I'm a vampire in public. And then I ducked away from some teenagers, and I'm like, holy shit, this neighborhood. I said on some Discords that the right answer might have... I was just so tempted to go, thank you! As you walk off. And you're like, Jesus Christ, lady. I mean, look at yourself, then look at me. I look better than you. Shut up. Throughout history, certain kinds of prisons have served as neutral meeting spaces and feeding ground for the kindred. Insane asylums, concentration camps, and gulags have drawn vampires with the promise of easy blood and relative security. Oliver Krona, shadow director of Camp Schleffer, member of Clan Ventru, has hidden this place from regular inspection and allowed it to fester and grow ripe. Grow past open air holding pens where prisoners sit wrapped in reflective plastic blankets, watching your Tacoma with expressions of hopeless despair. Guards patrol with rifles or dogs. Shadow sniffs unhappily at some of the dogs. You feel it too. Vitae flows through the veins of some. As you finish your circuit and park, you watch some kind of shift change among the prisoners. They're being put to work in long, low Quonset huts. The wind carries the stink of unwashed and unhealthy bodies, and this is autumn. You wonder how they don't all boil in the summer. The moment you step out of the truck, a tall, dark figure of intermediate gender and dark suit approaches you and says, "Give me the USB." Indeterminate gender! Intermediate! I was about to say intermediate gender? What? Sarah, it's worse. I need to get to the Ventru to talk to the Ventru. Well, my orders are explicit. I'm to deliver this USB to Oliver Krona and nobody else. Okay, now I'm giving you a new order. You fucking parasite, give me the USB. You know what? I give them a USB drive, not the USB drive, of course. If you're working for vampires, you likely ain't calling them parasites. Just say. Fine, you say. You hold up your hands in gesture of surrender, flick your right hand, make the swap with your left, and hand them a blank USB. Wait, did I... Oh, my... when I concentrate, I make them quite stiff and just like stuck in a position. Bad thoughts. Bad Rofi. The blank obviously suspicious and turned the USB over, but there's nothing obviously wrong or weird about it. Come with me, they say. Start to protest, but Oliver Krona's flunky glances back at the armed guards. A few of them are watching you now. That's not good. Come with me, they repeat. They lead you to bright red Quonset hut guarded by a man and a woman who are also dressed in dark suit. I'm sorry, Nile, the woman tells your escort, but Oliver Krona can't be disturbed. I have information from Tuscan, Nilan says. The woman shifts uncomfortably. I know, but... Is that you, Nile? That must be Oliver Krona. She's inside. Is Babylon there? It doesn't matter. I'll have to wait. Just give her a plate to stay for tonight. Tomorrow night, I'm busy. Have data from Tuscan, Nilan says, but only silence answers them. Shit, the flunky mutters. They glance your way and say, I'll find a place for you to stay, Babylon. Don't wander far. Now to figure out a way to deliver the real USB. You wander right back to your Tacoma. Someone stuck a boot on it. Great. Looks like you're staying. I can't pronounce that guy's names for shit. Nilo, Nilo, Nini. games, and I accidentally bought too many of them recently. I got Valheim, and I got Royal Edition of Crusader Kings 3 because I played it before, and I was like, I kind of want to try the new DLC and everything, but then I went to CD Keys and got it for like half price. Ah! Blew out my candle, no. It's super shrunken by now as well. Oh, candle. And then like, even today I'm a bit weird. It's spring equinox, and I don't do well with spring and summer, like, at all. Apparently, by which tradition, the lighter parts of the year, like spring and summer, they're to do with mundane living. So, doing business and family and normal shit. And I figured it out that energetically I don't do well on the ground. Part of me has to always be floating somewhere off into the space. Which means that the colder parts of the year, when the veil kind of lifts and it's more ghastly and airy, that's me. That is all me. Pollen in the air, the sun in the sky, super hot. My birthday. That's not me whatsoever. That is the miserable part of the year. And we just spring equinoxed into the miserable part of the year. And I didn't just feel grounded today. I felt like I was dirt-faced and face-planted and like knees deep in the soil grounded. And I was like, I need somebody to lift this weight off my head. Because this is fairly weird. And I'm wearing amethyst and it's kind of helping. But I hope I'm not about to have to wear amethyst for the next 6 months, because that would just be weird. Oh, hello. Happy birthday, Jade. Sorry, I went on a rant completely ignoring that it's your birthday and you just said that. You don't like what happens on your birthday, Energy Rise? Because yeah, I don't function well on my birthday, I can tell you that. I hope you had an okay day. That's me when I know how horrible birthdays are. I get a consolation prize for your booted Tacoma, a lanyard that lets you wander around without getting shot. You also get a private trailer too, complete with a shower. Whoop whoop! Expecting an attack, you procure a water drum for your trailer and partially empty it. You can store yourself in there if hunters attack. No one checks the water drums for them sneaky water vampires. Oh, yeah. Oh no, Jade. I know precisely what you mean. Anti-allergy pills for days. I'm gonna need more. Normally I'm like at a state where I will maybe have a worse head, or I will have like an allergy that will come along from pretty much middle of nowhere, okay, and then I will just take one. And that will happen like maybe once a week, and then spring starts and I'm just eating them every single day like it's friggin' candy, and I'm like, ah. It is really not my thing, the spring. You scout the camp in under an hour, at first convinced that the Second Inquisition will show up at any minute in helicopters and troop transports. The camp is laid out like an open-air prison, with temporary Quonset huts serving as separate holding pens for men, women, and children. Due to overcrowding, an overflow pen topped with razor wire holds several hundred more people. Right up next to the pen is a place called Millicent's, a kind of Rick's Cafe Americain for kindred. Where the vessels are so plentiful, it's almost free. After using your ID to pass security checkpoints, you poke your head inside of Millicent's and count not just well-heeled Camarilla types, but also Anarchs of all kinds, slouching among the dazed-looking blood dolls among the low couches and glittering lamps that establish a sort of 1920s French Algeria, 1990s Pier 1 store style to the place. You're pretty sure the biker gang is made up of your fellow gangrels, since there are 2 wolves among the outlanders. You also spot some creepy-looking figures in boiler suits that you heard about but never met. Russian exiles, mostly rabble if the stories you heard are to be believed. You listen in on the conversations and learn the names of fellow lunatics, sewer rats, and clanless hangers-on that the new, more aristocratic Camarilla wouldn't normally tolerate. Boiler suits? Ah, yeah, I heard that some people were playtesting the new DLC. Lasombra does sound cool, but so do Tremere. Boiler suit. Ah, okay, those things are a lot more normal looking than I thought they would be. Let's see, can I just... Oh, that's my chat. There we go. That's what a boiler suit is. Okay, they're a lot more normal looking than I thought it would be. I unfortunately imagined like a literal like anti-radiation suit, and I was like, the fuck happened? Just like escaping Russia with anti-radiation suit. And I'm like, Nani, what did I miss? Ah, she looks an unhappy old lady. Yep. I know about that one. I don't have it at the moment, but Premiere is appealing to me too, and so is Lasombra. Yeah, just wearing a hazmat suit, just like hanging out around the bar, and just like, stop, I'm from Russia. And you're like, that does not explain anything. And they're like, I am Boris, and it explains absolutely everything. I swear, if these worlds had me in it, I would make them a lot more fun very, very fast, but I think that a lot of people would just be like, just your local Bulgaria and ignore her. And they would be like, oh, but this place was just getting so much fun. Millicent herself is small, frail, and elderly. A peculiar choice for the embrace by most standards. She looks like a librarian from Black and White movie. But it sounds like everyone is welcome to grab a drink at Millicent's. I don't know, being old has its own privileges. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition. Well, when you think about vampires, nobody suspects your local 70-year-old librarian woman. You know? You know. They suspect that teenager, but not children or the elderly, which make children and elderly like perfect things to send out the scouts and stuff. You see, I myself am absolutely horrified by this operation, but I'm really trying to get into Lito's pants. I don't even know if he has anything in them, considering that we're undead and we don't do that kind of things, but I'm just... It's that bloodlust. It's that nice round butt cheek lust, so I'm not gonna say anything about how awful this place is. I'm instead gonna check for any masquerade violations. Millicent glances up when you pass through security and enter her bar, then returns to her work. Right now she's taking notes, even as a hulking vampire shares a hollow-eyed vessel with a hard-looking bruja in a Soviet captain's uniform. That... You know, I said hazmat suits, but Soviet captain's uniform. That's at the very least 30 years ago. He either took very good care of his clothes or that cost a fortune. Millicent's looks well run and secure, but God only knows what the rest of the kindred here get up to. The pit outside in particular is a mess. It's not mainly masquerade violation as such that you fear, but the pit is such an obvious vector for disease and mortal on mortal violence. I draw outside attention. Even as you watch, you notice that the Soviet kindred is using a needle to steal blood. Of what use is blood measured in cubic centimeters? Those looks like biomedical samples. Interesting. Maybe you should bring that sort of thing to Oliver Crona's attention. Head back outside and check the mortal guards. They're truly bewildering mix. Some of are actual police. State police from whom nearby municipalities, there we go words. Thank you, mouth. Making mouth sounds is a good thing to do with a lot of words, yes. Others give every indication of belonging to the armed forces from their kit to the way they carry themselves. Others are just fringe militia types, citizens patrols, patriot groups, even bikers. Loaded up with ammunition, given those Catskill masks, you see men and women in suits. Some of them are wearing windbreakers or lanyards that indicate that they're with ICE or Border Patrol or the FBI, or even the ATF. Thank you for the grats on the words! And you see, Lito has like a big eagle. And I have a nice doggo. And he's also a gangrel. We go well together. Plus, Julian to me looks like he's from a friggin' South Korean boy band. And I'm just really not into South Korean boy band look. Food at your fingertips, a loyal army of soldiers in a situation that blends perfectly into the chaos and carnage humans have wrought on one another. Ellen Oliver Crona has built her own private paradise here for vampires. Everyone else is in hell. You constantly see Nilai and lesser underlings running back and forth on errands to maintain the place. That's a sneaker net, data being physically carried from place to place just like you do. Data is flowing everywhere here and has to be coming from a central source. If you could get your hands on the blood traffic data, who knows what Julian you could do with it. Of course neither Oliver Crona nor Prince Lito would be happy if Julian copied the data and set up his little oasis. How hungry are we? I mean, we could do with a feed. I'll go to Millicent's and get myself a vessel. You enjoy a vessel with other kindred. Cracking open a boy with the cold ones! Don't mind if I do! Yeah, I know, right? Next day brings no SI activity. After showering, you check the red tent, but it's sealed up tight. Oliver Crona is deep in negotiations with other branches of the federal and state governments and with private charitable organizations that need cheap labor. What the hell? She must know you're here, but between her, Malnoise, and her endless parade of guards, you can't get in. Worse, more and more vehicles seem to be parked around the camp. Too many people, you think. The Masquerade is endangered by this kind of lively chaos. As you make plans for the evening, a hideous Nosferatu in ragged clothes appears. She introduces herself as Lenora, a facilitator among the different Anarch groups that feed into the camp Schlepper. If you're looking to aid the Anarchs here, she's willing to help. She leaves her contact information as well as a shoebox full of camp records as a sign of good faith. These are copies of Oliver Kroner's contacts in blood trade. It's exactly the sort of hard data Julian is looking for. Thanks, rando-ass Nosferatu, for free data! That being said, I ain't trying to get into your pants, and that's legitimately how I make decisions these days. I should be concerned, but I am not. You know what? I spend my time just taking the boot off my truck. You wait until not too many people are watching, then head for your Tacoma with a screwdriver and the old tubular-looking impressioning tool that had been rattling around in your kit since you drove the CRX. You know you can do the work, but security keeps watching you. You know they'll catch it if you act frustrated, you retreat. You know, I look for ways to nick things, and I don't... I don't really want to nick things, though. I want to waste some time. I suppose we can approach the Anarchs. By Camarilla standards, Julian is an Anarch, though he eschews the term. But the hard-eyed canines lurking at the edge of the migrant camp are the real deal. Ideologically committed, angry, and determined to live free of Camarilla interference, whatever it takes. A few hours of casual investigation at Milson's reveals 3 distinct gangs. The Outlanders roam free in the desert, stopping at Camp Schlepper every few nights to feed. It will take a cunning and wilderness lore to track them down outside, which is the only place they might be amenable for conversation. The lunatics all descend from a single mad visionary. Criminals and swindlers, they get by as petty thieves and local couriers. You have to stay cool and know your way around the local criminal lingo to interact with the mad ones. You're not being very nice to them, you know. Finally, the Bruja Anarchs aren't your typical rabble biker gang. They're refugees from ruins of the Soviet Union. High-class philosophers and fallen intellectuals enduring an exile that they still believe is temporary. Like mortal Russian aristocrats a century before, they keep to their old elegant ways and await the triumphant return to the motherland that no one else believes will ever come. You would have to be charming and on your best behavior to impress them. My doggo will help with the gangrels. It's easy. We're all gangrels here. I really wanted to talk with the Russians, but I have a feeling that it would be like, what is this simple-minded half-animal doing talking to us? By blood, you're clan gangrel, though your peculiar upbringing in Lampago's pits means that Outlanders might treat you like any other grubby caitiff. Nonetheless, a show of competence might impress them. You and Shadow head out into the rocky wastelands around the camp, following strange animal tracks and unfamiliar smells. You know you found them when you hear a hideous and forlorn scream. You and your hobo crest the low ride and look down on the pack as they feed. Looks like they found a woman lost in the desert. Oh, Jesus. She's already dead, swarmed by squirming shapes that the eye revolts to look upon. You see wolves, coyotes, some kind of big cat, men and women with the eyes of reptiles or porcupine quills instead of hair. They know you're here, but they take their time until nothing remains of the woman but a shriveled white corpse in what looks like a hospital gown. Then one of them sits up on his haunches and says, "You don't look like one of the Oliver Cronas." He gestures for Shadow to approach him, but the Lobo only growls. Don't blame my Lobo. Guys, how much humanity are you still on? If it's like 3 or lower, which if you do this often enough, it must be. You got a path, or you just corpsifying people for the hell of it? And make it clear that you're not with Oliver Crona and that you don't expect her power will hold for long. Recently fed, the gangrel in an indulgent mood. After they threaten you with final death a few times, the most human-like of them says, "We have heard of Julian Sim. Some of us have met him. Though we have little in common, we prefer him to the Camarilla, child of Lampango. We will send one of us to speak with you. Now go, we must finish our work here." What? Eating the corpse? Wearing her gown? What are you gonna do? You know when to not overstay your welcome among your own kind. You and Shadow head back to the camp before dawn. Yeah, but I mean, if you kill without caring, right? That's like 2 extra kills and you're down to 3. So even if you start not giving a shit because they're eating completely innocent people that are in no way doing anything or attacking them, they would have tanked to 3 in like 2 nights. The next day, you're repeatedly jarred awake by the sound of heavy equipment moving around. Vampires sleep heavy, but your nerves are on edge all day. Every time you think, "Is this the attack?" But nothing happens. Someone bangs savagely on your door just about as you were ready to leave. "Courier! Get out here! Oliver Crona wants to see you." You poke your head outside to confront the Venture's underling. The sky is still tinged with purple in the west. You haven't slept well in days. "Meet me at the Red Temp," they snap. Then they take off. Ah! They figured out that the USB is empty. Good. You've been ordered to the Red Tent and you feel eyes on you as you step inside. After a few minutes spent checking for possible exits, you enter the Red Tent for the first time. The guard dog that's always outside takes the lead. You follow the Malinois. Most of it isn't offices like you were expecting. Instead, dozens of migrant prisoners, mostly women, are lined up in front of refurbished laptops performing mechanical Turk-style labor. A few with good English skills appear to be phone banking for Texas politicians or Christian charity organizations. Past the security door and crude facsimile of government office, complete with Fouke's wood-paneled walls and deep blue carpet. You find Oliver Crona in an oversized office. Wow, RuneScape, you're really putting up that music right now. Can we chill out a bit? Thank you. You find Oliver Crona in an oversized office, seated in an elaborately caved wooden desk in front of a Department of Homeland Security seal. Oliver Crona looks like the picture you saw of her. She's tall and gaunt with long blonde hair. Yes, with long blonde hair and a bong in her hand. Arranged in an elaborate braid. And long hair. She wears a blue-black pantsuit decorated with more silver jewelry than most government workers. Her colorless eyes meet yours. You detect a flicker of distaste and disappointment. "Oh, the carrier is here," the Venture says, as if you haven't been trying to deliver the USB for nights. Tired of waiting, you march past Nila and slap the USB down on her desk. From Prince Lito, I assume, she says. Before you can answer, she drops beneath her desk, rummages around, and pulls up a spare laptop. She inserts the USB, then starts to read. Nilay's eyes widen at the revelation of what you did, but the retainer says nothing. You wait for her to explode into action when she realizes the Second Inquisition is coming. Her response is disappointing. Ah, Second Inquisition is coming. Thank you, Lito. Nilay clears their throat and says, isn't that like a problem, ma'am? An opportunity, Oliver Corona says, rubbing her head off her Malinois. The animal elicits no reaction. For too long I've tolerated all kinds of trash at the open feeding hole. Now this side give me the opportunity to get rid of the Anarchs, the hangers-on, and the filth. We will take the data we gathered here and use it to stake a claim at another holding facility. There are dozens to choose from. And the new one will be for the Camarilla alone. She checks what Lito wrote to her again. Yes, this confirms what I know, what I've been planned for. Nilay, a kill team from the Information Awareness Office at the Pentagon will be here in the morning. Your plans are waiting in your office. Read them now. Leave us. Yes. Oh well. Okay then. Nilay gets out of there, leaving you with very satisfied-looking Ventru. The moment she's every inch the Ventru, a born ruler, always 3 steps ahead, always totally in control. She looks you up and down, hardly bothering to hide her distaste, then gestures for you to sit. They're still here. If you're looking for more work, I could use you, Babylon. I reward loyalty. I return loyalty. That's all we kindred have, you know, our bonds with each other. Technically, you finished your job here and should be able to walk right back to your truck, but before you say anything, Oliver Corona says, Cam Schlaffer can always use a competent professional who's not already entangled in local politics. In exchange for helping me with certain matters here, perhaps I could teach you something. You know what, we don't have enough XP to develop everything anyway. I do like cash. I hate the facility, but I will take the money. I respect that, the blue blood says. Sometimes it's unhealthy to grow too close. But if you change your mind, and if you serve me well, of course I am willing to share my clan's secrets of mental command and near invincibility. And of course, she settles her hand on the head of the Malinois. But tell me, if you're only looking for money, why are you still here when the road offers so many opportunities for ambitious young neonate? That's a good question, one that might not deserve an honest answer. I'm just all up for helping Camarilla, and unfortunately, I can't just be like I am here for Lito's ass. That is not a choice. Developers, that should be a choice. Just going, I am here to buttfuck Lito and nothing else. I can look like really weird holding an alcoholic drink and cola at the same time because I realized that my place is just covered in drink. Always stay hydrated with everything at the same time. Yep. I am here to help the Camarilla because I wanna bang. So you're something more than Prince Lito's pet messenger. I'm glad you recognize what I've been able to create here. Yes, I am the Prince Lito's messenger that's trying to bang his ass. That's the only difference, honestly. Well, your underlings are crooked and stealing blood, because I did look at that. Yes, Babylon, obviously they're stealing blood, they're vampires, so I admit some slack in my operation because rigid control is impossible. They're selling the blood. What? You walk her through the details of what you think is happening. After a few minutes, Oliver Crona reaches into a file cabinet and slaps down about 5 pounds worth of records. This shouldn't take someone with your skills long. I want you to go through these transfers and note any discrepancies. You're going to take some notes back to Prince Lito. You'll be paid, of course, but in addition I will consider a more extensive arrangement. Would not want you going to work permanently for Lito, after all. Yes, I raid, you say. Don't want to sound alarmist or to impugn Oliver Crona's abilities, but I'll see your car move to secure locations, he says. And free to move, of course. But review these ledgers and be careful with them. I am showing them to you as a sign of trust. You scan them, instantly recognizing things you can use to get around the camp more efficiently. Oliver Crona's complacency is alarming, but also strangely convincing. Has the supernatural charisma of Clan Ventrue subtly influenced your reaction? No, certainly not. You stand up confident that you can help the Camarilla manage a successful evacuation, so they can rebuild elsewhere. The Malinois escorts you out, and then freezes and finally reacts to something snarling at the man at the door. You're a hard woman to find, Ellen. I can't believe you made me leave my gamer chair. Okay, Julian stands in the doorway. Julian, the fuck? Okay, so if we were still alive, we would be about middle-aged, which means that, well, according to the point in this game, so we have been a vampire for about 20 years, considering that Julian was about a vampire for about the same amount of time, and that he would also be a middle-aged man about now, probably. You made me leave my gamer chair is not the kind of sentence you ever use because it just makes you look really, really, really like a lowlife. Okay. Okay. I mean, I do video games in the occult, but Jesus fucking Christ. The Ventrue racks her brain for a moment, then says, "The water boy?" Julian Sim, the Anu Bakim says. Banu Haqim. Anu Bakim? He's wearing a Junji Ito hoodie and a sly grin. Helen waits a bit. You realize she's waiting for her retainers to swarm Julian, but they don't come. She reacts graciously to that revelation, gesturing for her dog to stand down. What do you want, boy? She asks the Assamite. I want you to stop overestimating your chances, Julian says. He tosses a plastic folder full of photographs and documents on Oliver Crona's desk. Her eyes widen as she sorts through them. The IOU kill team is going to smash you to paste and then light the paste on fire, Julian says. We don't have time to pack everything in neat little boxes. Get out now. But yes, all your hard work, very sad. Run a tighter ship next time. How dare you, fledgling, Oliver Crona snaps. The Malinois snarls and your Lobo whines. That's Dr. Fledgling to you, GS10, Julian says. That's your degree in? I don't know lots of things. The point is I am offering my services to expedite your evacuation. OCR scanners, encryption, Oliver Crona asks. No, then what? I drove here in a van full of librarians from the University of Arizona. Oliver Crona's eyes start from you to Julian back to you. Babylon, keep an eye on Slim while his librarians help me pack. The moment you're out of Oliver Crona's earshot in the fast emptying main room of the red tent, Julian takes you by the elbow and says, You better not be helping Ellen. Get me the information you need from this place and I can rebuild it data point by data point somewhere else. Ellen can't. She thinks she can, but she doesn't have the time or expertise. You glance around, at least one of Acrona's retainers are watching Julian at all times, so Julian can't actually fight you, defy him. I appreciate the nice and uplifting music that's happening right now, though it's very much taking me out of the scene and just making me think that I should go and play some RuneScape. But that's neither here nor there. It's kind of like we're having a tense conversation in the tent, but the music is like, actually, it's just like a sunshiny medieval marketplace with the sense of adventure. You know what, unlike you, Julian, I'm capable of loyalty. That will hurt, because technically they knew us for longer than we knew Camarilla, because we're working together as fledglings, so I'm being very much a hypocrite using this option right now. Come on, candle, don't spill. Yes. Smoke, candle, smoke for my entertainment. It's nearly completely gone by now, so I just thought, I'll just stare at this one instead. Actually, speaking of this one, it's doing that horrible thing where candles forget to burn the edges around. Then you have to, like, push it down with your finger. Because the wick is just not thick enough. Which is a shame. Julian just shakes his head. You're making a mistake, Babylon. We're young and allowed to make mistakes, but not forever. He signals his librarians and starts grabbing whatever he can to get his hands on. Now you're going to work while Julian steals everything he can. Step outside the red tent. The evacuation is already kicking off, with all of Acrona coordinating her underlings and Julian pretending to help her while stealing as much as he can. Consider how you can help, or help, as the case may be. While Acrona keeps all of her files and equipment on lockdown in the red tent. And she's hiding in there. If you can keep your wits about you, you could use the distraction to break into her secure area and see what's back there. An Nosferatu contact, Lenora, could help you organize the Anarchs to load up the supplies. It would take leadership skills and attention to detail. Mostly to make sure they didn't steal too much. If you're smart and technically inclined enough, extensive computer data is waiting to be transferred out. The equivalent physical data, boxes of files, folders, maps, and mimeographs, require an equal degree of intelligence as well as a good understanding of academic research techniques in order to grab the most valuable material. All of Acrona's operation is already a mess, whether digital or physical. Someone with a keen eye for detail might just be able to hang around the spot. Everything that gets dropped, misplaced, or misfiled. A lot of equipment to move. And the cat-masked guards aren't helping. Why would they? This is vampire business. Most of them don't understand what's happening. And you could ask all of Acrona for money and pass some of her cash around to get the guards working for you. And while the Russian Bruja would have to be persuaded to help, your tent is right next to all of Acrona's. If you could convince them to help with the evacuation instead of just flee, that might be useful. Whatever you do, you can't let this data get caught out in the open. CSI hits you before it packed up. It'd be a significant breach of the Masquerade. You know what? I use my brains and investigative ability to make sure key data doesn't go missing. I'm all about the Camarilla life right now, which means that I ain't stealing all the data for myself that I could. The camp was always too large and complex for Avacrona to keep everything nailed down, and now that it's in motion, the situation is rapidly approaching abject chaos. There's theft, loss, confusion, dislocation, and more theft. Also Malkavians. Just an FYI, just like an extra thing on the side. Fortunately, you and Nile are able to stand at the edge of the parking lot and watch the loading and unloading. Whenever something goes wrong, you're able to signal someone to set it right. Spot all kinds of screw-ups and corruption. Can't be everywhere at once, and you're sure it's just messy elsewhere. You're able to make sure that parking lot's vehicle loading operation runs smoothly. You return to the red tent just as Julian and Oliver Crona finish emptying out the government offices. They're arguing in acrimonious and frightened tones. Almost nothing has rolled out, and the camp is in chaos. Nile pushes their way through the crowds to speak with Oliver Crona. They're limping. Two of their fellow retainers are helping a third set out of the ballistic vest. You can see she's been shot twice. Listening carefully, you hear Nile say, "All around the camp already. They'll be here in less than an hour," and Julian holds up his hands for Nile to be silent. The Banu Haqim cocks his head and listens. The retainer shakes their head, but you hear what Oliver Crona and Julian hear, the faint drone of helicopters. You're almost out of time! I'll help them pack up computers. With the threat of Second Inquisition in the minds of every Kindred, there's less computer data to pack up than there would have been 10 years ago. The problem is that organization has suffered. You find yourself a closet full of laptops, thumb drives, and external hard drives, none of them labeled and organized, and with the tech specialist in charge sorting through them. Fortunately, Olive Crona's missing tech person left a README file on most of the computers that includes the physical locations of important files and careful instructions about how to keep the information off the internet. Nowadays, laptops just love connecting to the internet, so you follow the instructions to the letter, transfer everything to a single external hard drive, and leave with your wallet-sized prize. Does that just includes shunting off the Wi-Fi and all of that? Because, that's about as easy as to make sure that your pirated Windows never update, just saying. Jade, we do keep our old technology about, but recently there has been real technology shortage because of the whole pandemic and everything, if you haven't noticed. So it's to a point where we're using a whole bunch of old shit. To a point where my husband spent £50 trying to fix his old monitor and it still didn't work. It's because mostly if a GPU or a monitor blows, we're in the shitters. Yeah, it probably is. It probably is. But I'm just adding a layer of real life onto it. You peer into the back of your Tacoma, which is currently full of whatever equipment information all of Cronus flunkies could toss into it, including a whole file cabinet, several old tower-style CPUs. Elsewhere, the evacuation is proceeding smoothly. It's time to roll, Oliver Crona tells Nile. Retainer nods and gets Oliver Crona and the Malnoise in deep. Julian sighs. You don't think he's able to steal much from the blue blood. And hops in his sprinter van! There is hope in that van, follow it, boys! Yeah, I know, Jade. CPUs aren't that bad. GPU production is probably halted till about 2024 because they were using important factories and those factories just got rerouted by the government to for more important shit than GPUs, which caused a huge GPU shortage. Huzzah! For a moment you wonder what's going to become of the prisoners. No one let them out. But then an F-150 behind you lays on its horn and flashes its lights like you're not rolling forward fast enough in a Burger King drive-thru. The convoy is moving. You scratch Shadow's ears and roll through the main gate. Julian used to say that when a plan went perfectly, everything was boring. He only said that about StarCraft games, but it applies in real life too. There's some action behind you and a helicopter screams overhead 10 minutes up the road. But if the Information Awareness Office or whatever authorized the SOP expected a pitched battle, it should have struck earlier. You are gone. Since dawn is near, the convoy starts to break up about half an hour outside of the camp. Final location tapped to your sun visor. 5 more minutes of driving, you're just starting to feel nervous at the eastern sky lightens, and you turn onto a dirt road and arrive at the abandoned wildlife conservation facility, boarded up, but so far from any major highways that graffiti has barely touched it. You and Shadow check inside. The windows are covered and no light can get inside. This will do. You head into the abandoned building with Shadow to rest. You get back on the road the moment the sun sets. Keep off the major highways. The radio is full of wildly incorrect chat about the terrorist attack on the IC holding facility. You reach Tuscan before midnight. You stop at the Viper. The Eagle Princess Flunkies show up to take the data over Olive Corona load into your Tacoma. While they work, they talk about how a storage facility off exit 306 almost got raided by the police. At least one of the number died in the shootout. You make sure retainers don't steal anything that isn't theirs, then head inside. The Malinois is waiting for you. Doc jerks his head, signaling for you and Shadow to follow. Corona is waiting for you in a well-appointed meeting room off the Viper you've never been in before. She's dressed in a long black gown like she's going to the opera. Her Malinois curls up next to her leather armchair and watches Shadow, red stones glittering on its collar. Promised you a reward if you help me, Olive Corona says, and I keep my word. You know what? I want her help hiding from the Second Inquisition because, I just want to keep that thread low. That thread as low as I can. I am really impressed, Babylon, Oliver Corona says. I didn't expect such forward thinking from one so young. The main problem is that you have drawn the attention of 2 overlapping Inquisition groups, a branch of the FBI that have begun investigating Kindred, and a secret operations group on the 111th Military Intelligence Brigade. They've recently been activated. You may have seen their Phoenix badges. The good news is that they do not like each other and that these groups do not like the other groups. They happen to have a knack for playing different government agencies off of each other, and with the chaos at Camp Schleffer, I believe I have an opportunity to confuse absolutely everyone. We will both be a little safer, I promise. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Babylon, but I should begin immediately. She rises and departs, followed by her dog. Head for the Elysium and meet Prince Lito at the stairs. He's dressed in a tuxedo. He's just about to hit a nicer place than Viper. Ah, Babylon, Lito says when he sees you. It's good to see you in one piece after this. I got through with Camp Schleffer. My main Alexander, my main Alexander, and this is my side Alexander, and this is my Alexander second helpings. Nice to meet you, Alexanders. My man Alexander has prepared a room where you can type up what happened. Lito's goal, Alexander, leads you to a room with an old-fashioned typewriter. I wouldn't be very good on those. I would prefer pen and paper, honestly. When the old ghoul scans your work, he says Prince Lito will be satisfied with this. Let's hope that we can find a way to rebuild quickly. Alexander hands you your money. You head back to your Tuscoma and make sure the money adds up. You return to your apartment and park to Tacoma, I guess. Tuscoma? Car with a T! The T-mobile! Words! Just, you know, it's the Alexander Street with all the Alexanders. That day you dream of sunrise. I wonder if that kind of statement is just like you longing for sunrise, or it's the kind of... It's the kind of thing where as a mortal you're like in that dream, and that night you dreamt of jumping off a bridge. Because to me it sounds very bridge jumpy. Well, at least we shan't die of thirst, Lito of Barklow says. I shall thank God for that. You're welcome to thank Muhammad. You roll your eyes, peel off your helmet, and enjoy surprising this gangrel whelp. Lito of Barklow, you say? I have seen women before, ma'am, he says. Just never so high up. You guard your emotions well, you say. I look forward to seeing how you react to the sunrise. Hues of red and orange are spreading across the eastern sky. Ah, dawn! The rosy-fingered bitch, Lito says. Always spoiling an interesting conversation. I suppose you have no secret to escape it despite your great age and wisdom? My veins are dry, you say. Well, I can't refuse your shelter, even if we are enemies, the gangrel says. His ankles sink into the sand. Then his hips. Come with me, he says, holding out his hand. You take it and the sand wraps you both of you as you sink down into the desert, just ahead of the sunrise. In the blackness of that tomb, you consider who you are. October 1917. Before this war, you kept to the ways of the Banu Haqim. If not exactly to the ways of mortal empire in which you exist. And in these times of chaos, you have come to respect the elders and their ways even more. Not just your own elders, even the traditions of others. Words. The Camarilla has earned your begrudging respect. Princes in Privigen, laws and mutual respect backed up by the wisdom and power of the elders. As the world grows more complex in these modern nights, this is the only way Canites. Canites! Canites! Can I? Can I not? I can! I'm a Canite! Just like a nodist! It's a book of nodding your head up and down. That's what it is. Jesus Christ. This one is a tough cookie. This answer is gonna have a lot of Murta in it, okay? A lot of this Murta. Just in case you knew any others. I mean, I have some Spanish woman that pretty much shares an email with me, and I'm pretty sure that her real name is actually Murta, but I keep on getting her emails from time to time whenever she... Yeah, we're the Canites, not the Cantites. Pretty sure that she keeps on just typing her email because sometimes I get her mails. But you see, it's like a balance of both. From my perspective, the best way forward is always a balance of both. Mainly because I am fascinated by old beliefs, old systems, some ceremonial magic even. And I think that there's a lot of value in preserving languages, religions, books, knowledge. And if you investigate olden happenings, it's like just deep enough, not the surface level, just deep enough. You realize that people were always like complete, total bonkers. And they were doing as much, if not more, dumb shit than we do in these days. And that absolutely deserves respect. And that absolutely deserves remembering. But at the same time, you can't just like hide away and hope that the world just like stops happening. And that's kind of what the Camarilla are trying to do. You need a careful balance of both. So I'm just... Additions and the elders are usually fine, but I will not swear an oath to them unless I must. So... Shake off those strange notions of bowing to the traditions and drag yourself out of sleep. Endless memories cling to you as the sun sets and your night begins. After a day of fitful dreams, you throw on your leather jacket and engineer boots and get ready for another night. You take the rickety elevator downstairs to the parking lot where your Tacoma is waiting for you. You instinctively scan the nearby buildings, but the evening looks quiet. A few cars roll past as people get off work. Tuscan starts to wake up from its 9 to 5 lethargy. What time? It's probably like 6 p.m. That would explain why it's waking up from the 9 to 5 lethargy. Because, otherwise it couldn't have been taking it that long. Metallic hued sports car rolls into the parking lot looking like a space invader next to light pickups and minivans. Julian Sim parks his Fisker Karma next to your Tacoma, steps out of the sports car and looks around. Julian is wearing a Nicolas Cage dragon shirt under a zip-up glitch hoodie with the Rebel Alliance logo from Star Wars. Do you have an apartment up there, or do you just park in an open manhole? The Banu Haqim says. All the acquaintances are hard to lose, but I am really going after this ass! Julian ass is just not on the menu. I work for the Camarilla now, Julian. Please leave me alone. You work for the Camarilla. Why are you doing what I want? Julian asks. What? That silver knife has caused more trouble for my enemies than the whole pack of thralls could, Julian says. First it distracted Jesper Knowles so he wouldn't find me while I was in Denver. Then Prince Lito's enforcer Dove spent 2 weeks investigating the pawn shop where I dropped it off instead of bothering me. And then you drove it out to the airfield to New Mexico. Sorry you got in trouble there, but it's not like you ever needed to succeed. I don't know who grabbed it in the end, but it's still causing trouble. You know what, motherfucker, you almost got me destroyed, because that's correct. First, stop saying destroyed in public. It's a masquerade violation, and a little louder now. We can't let anyone know we're vampires. Second, I don't raise my hand against any creature, living or dead, except in judgment of their sins. Because I'm trying to live righteously, Babylon, unlike some of us I could name. Like, for example, Jesper Knowles. Julian leans against his Fisker and says, you should know the truth. I killed that usurper. Not that I care about a dead Tremere all that much, but... Why are you even telling me this? I really don't give a shit, Julian. Just let me live my life. Or his scribes? Well, you and I have a complicated relationship to crimes, don't we, Babylon? But yes, I suppose so. I may not be much of a vampire, but I'm still a child of Haqim. And our work is to judge the unrighteous. I'm gonna turn into a growling mess over here in a second, and I don't like it. I don't like it. I have a certain hatred for people that self-proclaim to be judges of righteousness. I don't know. It might have been something to do with having been titled as evil by fucking Christians. And my family. And random people outside. Might have something to do with that. You introduce yourself to me as righteous. And I would like to introduce you to your own heart. As I hold it in my fist. While laughing and saying, righteous that, you motherfucker! But, let's not get carried away. We never did that, and we're never gonna do that because that is fucking illegal. Why don't you just tell me all about your plans, for I'm just gonna hand your ass over to Prince Lito. Lettuce. Prince Lettuce, the great butt cheeks. United. Thank you. Well, you weren't able to get me St. Basil's Hospital or access to Camp Schleffer's data on the blood trade. Nonetheless, I've had to forge my own path. I retrieved copies of Camp Schleffer's data for my own use, and I've taken over a few smaller hospitals. But why, you ask? Because I'm going to replace the Masquerade with something else, piece by piece, so slowly that no one notices until it happened. The old ways of hiding before the First Inquisition prevented humans from understanding. The Masquerade prevents them from knowing. I'll prevent them from caring. This video game is hitting in ways that I don't want to be hit at. I really don't want to be hit at right now. I'll just hug this candle for a bit. Okay. Small story time. Small story time. Because it's always a good time for a small story time. I'm all for living in the open, because if you live in the open, it's the best feeling that you can have, because you don't need to veil yourself. And that's great. That's fine. Tried my damnedest doing that. Tried my damnedest. And there are people in my life that go, don't fail. Don't fail. Let the others that don't fit into your life just fall away. The issue is that others, they don't fall away. They try to burn you on a fucking stake. That's what they try doing. So, a lot of information that I disclose to YouTube Even with that one, I try and be very, very careful. Just in case, you know, just in case it leaks to my real family and to get some ideas. Because I tried introducing myself to them in a way that I thought wouldn't cause a lot of harm. Hello, Smoke. And this didn't work very well. What do you do when you're a Luciferian occultist? That requires energy that's not your own to feel good. Well, I just disclosed about 3 points of my current personality that just don't get very compatible with nice Christian peoples. So of course you tried the waters with something a lot simpler. A lot simpler. Something you think would be a good veil. Wouldn't get you in trouble all that much. Look at me. I am living in my own apartment with gray walls that I have decorated however I want to decorate it. And the internet has seen my altar, my family obviously didn't. Because no sane person has an altar. So what I have is I have a side table. It's a side table. That just happens to have a skull and some candles and a cloth on it, but it's a side table. That's what it is. And this is how I dress. This is just how I dress now. Okay? Okay. Then I do some tarot readings online. Your soul has been gotten by the devil! Renounce your wicked ways and marry a good Christian husband instead. Produce many progeny while working in a respectable profession. While wearing respectable clothes. Oh, thank you, Jade. But, it just hits you really different. When you're like, I'm gonna disclose the tiniest amount of my personality. And then people explode at you with such force that I've been navigating that situation for several weeks now. And I have done prayers and rituals. And more than anything, it was in the favor of making that stop affecting me. And I don't think that I emotionally give a shit anymore. But it still boils my blood. The fact that I disclosed the tiniest bit of my personality and everything exploded wasn't even the real me, it wasn't even the true me, it wasn't even the whole me. In the ideal world, you would live in the open. About every aspect of yourself. And you wouldn't feel ashamed. You wouldn't feel like you had to hide it. Be it your sexuality, be it the fact that you're living with multiple partners. Something that I'm not doing, but something that is still illegal in majority of the world, despite the fact that adult people are allowed to make adult decisions. And they still do live with multiple partners, except that instead of everybody being able to be a husband or a wife, There's like a husband and a wife plus many girlfriends and boyfriends. Because, you know, the world has to be a complicated piece of shit place, right? Right. Be it the fact that you're into a cult. Be it the fact that you do tarot readings. Be it the fact that energetic vampires are not boogeymen underneath friggin' desk, underneath your bed, but rather people that don't produce enough energy, and that there's 99% of all energy sources that don't involve other people. But we don't talk about that. We only write articles about how to avoid all of these awful people from our life that religion just doesn't agree with. And when we see even the tiniest little bit of that, we declare it as being from the devil. Despite the fact that, the world doesn't work on such black and white, and you can't say that the devil is evil and the God is good. But, no one ever discusses that. And you can't disclose these kind of aspects of yourself. Or when you do, when you're one of the people that do, I really admire your bravery to just be unapologetically you, because being unapologetically you in this world means probably having a private security team. Or police on quick dial. Or getting crucifixes burnt in the back of your yard. Alternatively, having asylum vans pull next to your house. Because, if your spirituality does not align with the couple main religions, you will just be deemed insane. So there's also that aspect. There's also that aspect. So you know what? You know what, Julian? I would love an ideal world where people just do not care, but that is not realistic in the slightest. In the slightest. It's more the fact that the situation is just bloody complicated. People that are really egging it on are my grandmothers. And they're over 70 years old, but like my family has this unfortunate trait of living very, very long lives. So there's always a chance that I will die before my grandmothers do, because I have shitty genetics, so yeah. No easy outies for me on that front. No easy outies for me on that front, unfortunately. And that sounds pretty fucked up, honestly. But that's not even the whole load of it. I wish I could live in the open, but that's just not the time and space for that. Not the time or space for that. So you can't change human nature, Julian. God damn it, video game, don't make me look at my own life. Or vampire nature. The camera all accepts that this is the way it's gonna be, and they're probably right. No, you don't understand. I'm not gonna change human nature. I think I'm the only person who really understands it. Look, the first time I saw the US as a real place, not just a film set on the other side of TV, was in Rodney King riots. I barely spoke English then, but like, wasn't that amazing? People saw what was happening right in front of them. Cops beating the shit out of some guy. And they didn't believe. Did you understand the power of that when it happened? The revelation it represented? Before you can answer, Julian bangs on the hood of his frisker and says, all people want is a fucking story, Babylon, not the truth, not an ideology. We want to know what the main character is. TV told us that as kids, cops, doctors, the rich. They're the people who matter. Even if they're bad, they're the ones with the point of view. You control the point of view, you matter. That's it. No, Julian, you're just repeating old mistakes. The Camarilla only reacts, Julian says. Elders are constantly seeing developments, misunderstanding them, and trying to control them. Because all they can do is control, influence, and corrupt. They can't build. I want to make something new. I want us become the point of view. Do you understand? Imagine you turn on the TV and there's a show on about rich assholes and they're terrible people. It's about them, right? The story's about them. So the world, the real world, starts to become about them. We need to make the story of the world about us. Through influence and manipulation and art and a bit of good old-fashioned mind control, we need to make a new point of view. A new T through which mortals view the world. We can't understand it. It's us at first, but eventually they'll understand. They'll love us because the T through which they see the world is us. But to even begin the project, they need 3 things. Data, influence, and experimental subject. Well, 4 things. Data, influence, and an experimental subject, and no sorcerers conducting unholy experiments using research I need. For a moment he burns with an aura of righteousness, but then Julian turns back into the cold rat, you know, as he dings the toe of his sneaker. Digs the toe of his sneaker into the ground and glances uncomfortably at you. There's another reason I got rid of Jasper Knowles. He knew Aelia. November 1918. Dear God, you're still with us! The warlock jumps to his feet as the little outdoor cafe rattling the teacups as you emerge from the desert just behind the gangrel pilot. And who's this? The warlock asks, switching from English to French. Excuse me, where are my manners? I am Jasper Knowles, gentleman magician. He bowls awkward in his desert robes. And Lito, you look shorter without your airplane. I'm sorry, what? Airplane gave him height? I lost it in the desert, the gangrel says, but I made a friend. He isn't like the Outlanders you met before in your long life, and you can't help but think. Lito or Barclaw is sophisticated without being pompous, charming without being cloying. But perhaps you're just not thinking clearly because you just walked across half the Sahara with him after your planes crashed, and because you're almost mad with hunger. And who is your friend? Jasper asks. This is Ayla, of Clan Banu Haqim. Ah, your enemy, our enemy, except I have news, my Outlander friend. I just got news from the Dove of Maldros. He sent it via radio. On a brave new world we endeavored. Entered! Words of instantaneous communication. Do you ever think we would see it? Anyway, the war is over. It's over almost everywhere now. I think though news still travels by donkey cart in some places. I'm sure that will all change though in this century. He looks at you. I'm afraid you lost, young lady, or at least the Ottomans have lost. How will the Yassamites adapt, I wonder? Oh, Ayla was so pretty and then we ate her. That's sad. Ah, my thought process. What is wrong with my brain? Oh, what a pretty person! And then we ate them. That is sad. Ah. This is a whole new up and downs in storytelling. Humpty Dumpty sat on the floor. committed the forbidden slurp on the pretty lady. No, brain. We can't make sentences like that. It will keep us laughing the whole night through. Babylon, are you still with us? No, I'm just laughing at my train of thought, but okay. Morocco fades away, replaced by Arizona. Ayla's thoughts withdraw, vanishing deep in your marrow when they linger like a dull ache in your bones. Oh no! This line of reasoning. Did Jasper tell Prince Leto? If Leto knows what I did to Ayla, the traditions dictate my destruction, which is a bummer because I like the traditions. We should have never done what we did. But we did and don't know any vampire magic that lets me go back in time, Julian says. We need to look to the future. You helped me out a bit in the past few weeks, Babylon, but there's more to be done. The Camarilla trusts you and they're going to need your help. The Second Inquisition wants the Camarilla gone from the southwest and they have the power to do it. You need to understand, every K-Knight needs to understand, the Masquerade is breaking down! Do you think it can last until the end of the century? Breaking down! Forget society, return to monkey! I have made my decree! Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. You have no faith in the Camarilla. It's weathered the First Inquisition, the rise of surveillance state, and worse, the traditions can change and it can endure. Julian angrily shakes his head. Camarilla has never been flexible enough to adapt, he says. It relied on the raw supernatural power of its elders. And those elders are leaving, and then they're coming back, Julian! They're not leaving to disappear in the desert! What is wrong with all of you? That's why SI is steering through them like a fat dog through a meatball soup. Their Masquerade is brittle, and brittle things are useless now. It's completely useless now. He holds up his smartphone, takes a selfie with you and your Tacoma, uploads it to God knows where. Soon the whole world will be visible to everyone all the time. Barring apocalypse, this is inevitable. We can't hide because there will be no place to hide. We must act. We must seize the narrative, seize every one of these digital windows and tell people the story about what they see. They will know the facts and we will tell them what it means. Only then we can survive. Thanks, Julian. I don't really want the world to be visible to everyone all the time. Spoken as a puny human. That is wrong on so many levels that I would honestly rather return to monkey right now. I would rather pack up my bags, start like a nice little gardening community somewhere in the middle of nowhere and throw my phone out of my window. Thank you very much and good night, folks. Honestly, that's preferable than a future of forced implants and trackers and all of that. Let's not go there. Let's not give away our data for free, okay, folks? Let's not use apps like freaking TikTok that are Chinese owned and they own your data just because it's a fun app to use. Let's be more careful and maybe also not give governments all the power. Just, just a little tiny teeny thought. Tiny teeny thought at the back of my mind. Be careful what you do and how you do it. I live my life a lot more in the open than I should. And any sane person should. I make videos the way that I do because I struggle to balance my true self and the need for truth and exposure and freedom and the need for secrecy and keeping my bloody mouth shut. I struggle with that. So don't do what I do. And definitely don't do what a lot of other influencers that are a lot bigger than me do. That have all the social media accounts and give away their data in all directions at all time. And are very much prepared to sell their life. And it's sad when we come to a point where we need to sell our lives, but just the kind of dystopia that opens up, I don't honestly want to think about it. And I want to think that we're gonna find the right balance, or at least that we're gonna struggle to continue to find the right balance instead of tipping with everything is in the open, or tipping to everything is secret and behind secret societies again. Because no, I don't like either one of those outcomes. I don't like either one of those outcomes, and that is spoken as a person and not an imaginary vampire inside an imaginary novel. He reaches into his clear raincoat and hands you a plastic one-use contact cards. See, 2100 company. There's no actual address, only a Dropbox location. I'll be in touch, he says before getting back in his Fisker Karma. As the sports cars disappear... Sports cars' lights disappear! Flicker of movement near your Tacoma catches your attention. Riga, Prince Lito's ego, has landed almost within reach. He studies you with godlike arrogance of bird of prey, then flaps away when shadow lopes towards her. She settles again a moment later. It looks like you're being summoned to the Viper. Lito has done well by me so far. I won't let my guard down, but I will head out. Every Elysium is dangerous, but Prince Lito seems to enforce something that resembles a coherent system of laws. You hop in your Tacoma, watch Riga for a moment to make sure she's taking you to the Viper, and then speed off. You get wallet parking this time, and there's someone specifically tasked with feeding and walking your Lobel because wolves aren't allowed on the dance floor. But I do want the image of my wolf ripping apart the dance floor with his sick moves stuck in my head. But the swole guy in the Ed Hardley shirt you've seen before looks haunted. You don't think he's a blood doll, so it's not like he's anemic. But his face looks grey and tired, like he's been up for nights. I wonder if you're even allowed through the glass-lined VIP entrance, but the bouncer just waves you in. The crowd on the dance floor is oddly subdued, as if some malaise is pouring down from above has infested the mortals. But the music is still pounding, and the crowd toward the middle of the dance floor is a blur of limbs and sweat. Ah yes! Only metal will suffice. You spot a familiar face in the crowd. Someone you've seen before, but you can't place where. Still, what are the odds of a Malaysian woman here in Tuscan immediately noticing your ghoul? It has to be Julian's contact. Is there another name on one of those cards Julian gave you? Here it is, Nadia. The upstairs Elysium is crowded with vampires and retainers whispering to each other in worried tones. You don't see the Eagle Prince. Riga circles overhead and perches on one of the cacti that cover the hidden roof of the Viper. Good, you're here. Dove, Prince Lito's Nosferatu second in command, is studying the stars through the cacti. Okay. Looking through the cacti. I was like, is she like sitting there masquerade as a cactus? These stories look so much better in my head. As the city lights up here and dim through whatever sorcery has touched its place. She's wearing ruffled leather over her powerful physique, like what a motorcycle courier would have worn just after they invented motorcycles. Dove's skull-like face is always ugly, but you can see the marks of recent and complete regeneration. She was burned by fire or sunlight and hasn't finished repairing herself. What a silly robot. Go and get your repairs in tow. Oh, what happened to you? I don't want her to be hurt, honestly. All this technological advancement, Dove says, and the truck still stops you if you drill it with enough 50 caliber ammunition. The Nosferatu eyes follow maroon Toyota AE 86 because we can't talk as it wheezes into the parking lot. Carlos hops out and runs around to the passenger door. He and the guy in the dead Hardy shirt tried to help a third man out, but he's obviously dead. You recognize the third man. He's one of the Luskan's gold carriers. He drives or drove a yellow Chevy Nova SS, and now he's dead. I don't need... Okay, time to stop making random noises. Don't you just say it when deja vu happens? I had a weirder thing happen than deja vu. Because I run in occultist communities, I had an occultist give me a reading for a reading that I'm gonna receive in the future, and I did receive. He said, I see dice and fives in your live stream. I was like, don't ring a bell, don't know what it means. And then one person was giving free dice readings because they needed to practice, and I was like, yes, you know what, sure, do me, why not, do me. And I was like, but I will freak out if you roll fives. And they were like, this is a third reroll now, and it's all fives. And I was like, ha! A few years before I got a reading for a reading, and everybody had quite a laugh because it's like, this is a first. I see a reading in your future. You indeed do. You indeed do. Carlos joins you and Dove on the roof a minute later. He's wearing a cheap suit smeared with blood. Looking at the suit, Dove asks her ghoul, how was internal affairs? Part of why the Avery Tower has been so successful in its control over mortal institutions like the police. The ghoul shakes his head. I'm suspended with pay. They're everywhere, Dove. And my contacts in Seattle, they're gone. Do you know what that means for the blood trade? It means, oh shit, is this girl still walking around? Why aren't you dead, Babylon? Everyone else is. Carlos, go find Prince Lito, Dove says. Ghoul blanches but does as he told. And you, Dove says, frowning on you. Would you like to know where at the Viper works for the Second Inquisition? Because I would sure like to fucking know. Someone deleted all the records in our monitoring station. Yesai has spies everywhere, Babylon. My surprise. You actually seem honest. And you helped us. I respect Prince Leto, but he's too open. Holds to the old ways that the Camarilla used to have before the Beckoning called most of our elders away, and everything went to shit. He tolerates Anarchs, he works with fringers, and independents like you, and to be fair, you've done well. But the others haven't. And now most of them are dust, and the information they were carrying is in our enemy's hands. How can he let people pass in and out in a time of war? You know what? Lito is right to try and reopening the Camarilla. If they'll grow frail and useless if it's a country club for vampire elite. More importantly, you need connections. And Masquerade breaches committed by Anarchs in your territory are still Masquerade breaches committed by Anarchs in your territory. The SI does not differentiate what kind of vampire it is. Not going to argue politics, Dove says. There's work to do. Catching spies, you ask? I mean, maybe you're Julian's spy, but not Second Inquisition's. I am not a Julian spy game! I don't expect you to catch a traitor hidden in the wainscoting, Dave says. Dove! But you're a fresh set of eyes and Prince Leto trusts you. Use those fresh eyes, look for anything strange and report back to me. Let's solve this problem before we all have to flee to Seattle. I won't make mistakes! No panicked flights to Seattle for us. I'm very determined to impress the Camarilla and mostly Lito's ass. Lito's ass. Dove just laughs. Let's hope not, she says. When Prince Cross up there realizes that we're not sending blood from Camp Schleffer north, he's going to be mad, so if we have to run, I'm running to San Francisco. I hear it's nice, but I'm not running anywhere. Find the spy, Babylon. There's only a few dozen people up here in Elysium, but the Viper sprawls a medieval castle, and even with the mood subdued, there are hundreds of people downstairs. You wonder how to approach this invitation, how you can exploit the information you find. One thing is for sure, the SI is getting dangerous. If you don't find any clues, the spy will escape with information about local kindred, including you. Letting that information leave the Viper is clear violation of the Masquerade. Yeah, I'm just gonna tell Camarilla about Nadia. I'm not gonna mess around with Julian. You tell Dove about what you know about Nadia, Julian's contact. Her skull-like face manages to become even more hideous as she scowls. I'll be right back. Some kind of disturbance downstairs, but by the time you get to the glass observation box looking down at the dance floor, it's over. Dove returns, gives you a brief, please nod, and keeps moving. You don't see what happened to Nadia. Well, there's probably no more Nadia to look at. Okay, let's start from the records, but we can also do a systematic and intelligent investigation. That's my brain is my smart suit, yes. Strong suit, god damn it me. Good, Nosferatu says, talk to Alexander in his office. Track down Prince Leto's ancient ghoul, Alexander, who permits you access to the Viper's public records so long as nothing leaves his office. After an hour of meticulous research and organization, followed by another hour of Alexander's old-fashioned calculator, you uncover a consistent discrepancy every Monday and Thursday. Who works that till at Viper Mondays and Thursdays, you ask Alexander. Lana, Alexander says, retainer to Bridget de Ventru. Good woman. Run into some trouble with Victor, a wholesaler in Tuscan, a while back. But now she's out of trouble, scot-free, or Irish-free. It is a pun, since Bridget is Irish. He smiles, revealing his grey teeth. Dentists are a thing, you know! You slide the ledger across the table to Alexander. Well, shit, the old girl says. Maybe not. We're bringing all of this to Dove. Let's systematically and intelligently investigate the physical environment of the Elysium. But first, Dove is impressed by your work and thanks you. It's not like you caught the spy, if there even is a single Second Inquisition spy operating at the Viper, and you just removed one source of suspicion, got rid of a compromised employee, and saved the Viper some money. As midnight approaches, Prince Lito has yet to make his appearance, though Carlos has notified him of your arrival. Dove talks with other kindred who are worried about a courier who is now 2 nights late. I catch all sorts of whispered gossip as you cross the rooftop garden. Camp Schleffer? Gone. The Outlander courier has something to do with it. Heard Russians helped the SI burn it down. That's ridiculous. There's no such thing as Russians! The earth is flat. Russians don't exist. They fell off the side of it and drowned in vodka. What about Flagstaff? No one knows. The degenerate from Mexico City got destroyed, but no one knows if it was the SI or... The rooftop is in constant motion of vampires, ghouls, and blood dolls swirl around each other as head up from or down to the dance floor. You make just enough conversation to avoid suspicion and get down to the Sherlock Holmes business looking for hiding spots. Mysterious stains? Blood isn't suspicious, but ink can be. or wrought damage to the structure. You can't find anything interesting up here, so you head down to the private glass box that overlooks the dance floor where Prince Leto wants let you pick out some new clothes. It's deserted, its refrigerator locked. It's a different refrigerator. Now, if you're being honest with yourself, you're torn a fridge apart and get a bagged blood. Who hasn't? But something about the refrigerator strikes you as odd. You try to move it out, but it's bolted into place. You shine your phone's light into the gap between the back of the refrigerator and the wall. Is that some kind of hatch? You stick your phone in and take a picture, then look at the picture. That's a little cabinet that leads from wall to the back of the fridge. It looks like a dumbwaiter. Lito wouldn't waste time with a system like that, but a smuggler might, who filed the information away. It's an hour when night plugs get crazy at night. All of your plugs for all of your needs and all of your holes. It's the hour when nightclubs get a little crazy, though when Carl Loss deal with a few mundane crises, then watch the streets from the rooftop. Their expressions bleak. Whoever was supposed to arrive tonight isn't coming. And this is where we're gonna stop because it's 3 a.m. We're gonna continue our investigation. Tomorrow, hopefully, honestly. I haven't been in a state to be streaming for a bit because the head bad, spring not my thing. But hopefully, I can be coherent and alive and not asleep and with head on my shoulders. That would be absolutely ideal. Thank you, world. Please make that be a thing. So I will see you when I will see you. But hopefully, that is tomorrow. For tonight, please sleep tight, for it is 3 a.m. for Myrta, and she's trying to stick to a regimen where she goes to sleep at night and gets up at daytime when it's normally her work hours. Though it is Sunday tomorrow, which is absolutely fine by me, but if I want to stream again on Sunday, I should at least aim to start my streams at midnight instead of at 2 a.m. and finish them at 2 a.m. instead of 4 a.m. That's the ideal operation time. But thank you for today, and I hope I will see you when I do see you. Ta-da-la, toodaloo for now, as we leave the story on this cliffhanger, so tune in to see what happens next. See ya!